Man, I'm tired of this shit.
Dude, I was listening to that. Leave it alone.
This is absolute trash.
I don't care. Driver picks the station. Shotgun shuts his cake hole.
Passenger gets first dibs on everything. I have my finger on the button.
You know what? You want to fight about it?
Yeah.
Okay,
fuck
fine.
you.
Hey,
Fuck you.
leave it alone.
No.
It's mine.
Turn your trash off. Now look what you did.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Dissonant Harmonics podcast. My name is Frasier.
And for $5, I'll be Josh.
Your price has gone up.
Hey, man, inflation's a bitch.
Welcome to 2025. We've already welcomed you to 2025. And if you don't know anything about the music industry, the video games industry, the media industry, this is the slow time of the year, so this might be a little bit of a shorter episode because not a whole lot's going on. There aren't a whole lot of tours, there aren't a whole lot of albums coming out, and there aren't a whole lot of news articles to go over. So we're going to try to just hit what happened in the past couple weeks, and you're going to be shocked at how little there was.
I also want to end my trial of 2025. I've had about all I can take, and I don't want to do it anymore.
You've had enough already. 0 stars.
0 stars. I want my money back. If you charge me for the month trial, I will sue you.
Didn't even make it to the 30th.
Hey man, I started out the year happy, and then David Lynch died, and then my entire year is fucked.
Okay. Well, other than David Lynch dying, what else do we have in the news?
David Lynch died.
Yes, that was the whole point of me saying, what else do we have?
David Lynch died.
Okay.
I'm very sad about it. I'm still sad about this. I don't think I'll never not be sad.
On.
He did music. He did
I'm
music.
Gonna be the too soon. I'm going to be the too soon guy. Moving on.
Okay, well, Frasier said it was going to be a short episode, so we can spend 20 minutes talking about David Lynch's weird jazz band of spoken word stuff.
No. In the news, Marilyn Manson has been acquitted by a judge, and basically the investigation that would lead them into possibly going into trial has been concluded, and they have decided to not charge him with anything. So for those of you that are out there...
They also settled out of court, too. That was the big thing, is before this, they settled out of court, and now they're disbanding the investigation.
So this is what the statement said by the judge. We have determined that the allegations of domestic violence fall outside the statute of limitations, and we cannot prove charges of sexual assault beyond a reasonable doubt. So for those of you that are at home that don't know how the legal system works, before you go to trial, there's a whole bunch of evidence gathering and all this stuff to even determine if you get charged. For instance, if you get arrested, for people that don't know, if you get arrested, that doesn't mean that you're actually going to be put in jail. That means that now they have to decide whether or not they're going to charge you.
Remember, in America, you are guilty until proven innocent.
No, innocent until proven guilty.
Nope.
That's literally what's protecting Marilyn Manson in this case.
That's not
how we're going to be
works.
sarcastic. Let's be truthful.
No.
And so Marilyn Manson isn't even going to go to trial because there's not enough evidence to even begin to give him charges for this. So whether or not it's true or not, we'll never know. But basically, there's not even enough anything to go off of to even begin to start building a case against him is the point. And he was hanging out with Ronnie Radke on his birthday, so they might be collabing on music, or they might just be doing drugs together, but God only knows.
God, that's going to be the fucking worst collaboration ever. Jesus Christ.
Nah, it'll be good.
Oh my God, no. They got to be sharing drugs. You see how much weight Marilyn Manson's lost?
Yeah, but I think that, to be honest, I really do think that he finally cut all the weight, especially after how fat he got because he was drinking so much.
Yeah.
So I think he actually did the smart thing and probably got clean and got his act together.
Well, yeah. Plus, I mean, with my comment before saying that we're guilty till proven innocent, we're seeing it a lot in the music industry the last couple of years where you have an allegation or anything that comes up that you might be implemented of, you get dropped from everything.
Right.
You get dropped from tours, you get dropped from labels. Basically, everybody kind of cuts bait before anything can tie back to make you look bad. So that's kind of what was happening with... That's what was happening
like
with Marilyn Manson, too.
Right. Well, and like we talked about a couple weeks ago with Oceano, and even before that with Spirit Box, they got put on tours with huge bands, and the bands have been accused of stuff, and they can't even go on tour because their fans are ripping them to shreds for even being affiliated with a tour that has accusations tied to it. Pardon me.
All you deathcore fans made Oceano break up, so you all suck. But I do stand with Adam Warren on that subject, because I mean he got roped through the coals hard just for going on a tour.
Oh yeah, and then like the guy didn't even have social media, and people. This is what I'm saying though. It's all virtue signaling and not cancel culture in the crazy right-wing sphere of everything. You know, like it's not like this is what I mean by legitimate cancel culture of you even breathe the wrong direction and people are out to get you.
Right.
Like it's a negativity feedback loop that's prevalent in the music industry.
You are guilty until you are proven innocent.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean?
Yep.
And speaking of that, did you have any more about Marilyn Manson? He looks like he did back in the 90s. It's actually fucking crazy how different he looks.
Right. No, that's exactly what I was going to say earlier. He seriously is looking like he did exactly like he did back in the 90s. Like it looks like he's back to being healthy and everything again.
Well, his new album too is slowly kind of hearkening back to that more aggressive, faster sound. And I forget what the name of the album is, but I know the opening track, One Assassination Under God, definitely starts to feel like more contemporary Marilyn Manson, while still being able to hit some of the heavier, faster stuff on. Like, the new album's actually pretty good. I was actually kind of glad to see that, you know, he's at least seeming like he's doing better.
Right.
But I guess we'll see. We'll see if anybody else comes out with anything against him. Because, I mean, I want to say there's a few people that were coming after him in court cases.
Right, yeah. I don't think there's One Assassination Under God is kind of all that's out right now. There's no name for the album or anything.
No, he has a new album. That is the first track off the album. It's something Part 1. I know that. While Frasier looks and fact checks me, that perfectly segues into now possibly the demise of the band Seeyouspacecowboy. So
yes, so the album is called One Assassination Under God, Chapter 1.
Chapter 1, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't pay attention to it that much. I only have the first track on my playlist.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, you were going.
So that perfectly segues us into what's probably going to be the downfall of the band Seeyouspacecowboy. So Seeyouspacecowboy is a more recent band that definitely harkens back to that kind of 2000s screamo sound. This band literally sounds like the bands I listened to in high school, like Alicena, Old Dance Gavin Dance, who makes an appearance in the show, and they're a pretty decent band. They're fronted by a woman named Connie Scarbosa, who has not gone under fire, but she's definitely getting attacked by a lot of people right now. So back in the day, you know, a few months ago, maybe about a year ago, Seeyouspacecowboy was supposed to be doing a tour with a band called Roman Candle, but Roman Candle's bass player was being accused of domestic abuse allegations, and they decided that they wanted to pull off the tour because they being Connie, didn't agree with how that domestic abuse allegation was being handled by the band. And to a degree, I can kind of see where she's coming from. She thinks that the majority of these allegations, because a lot of these bands will say, well, we didn't know what they were doing. We didn't know that this was coming out from them, and we have nothing to do with it, because that's where they cut bait from that band member usually and leave. So they pulled off that tour with Roman Candle, I think, or maybe they kicked Roman Candle off that tour. I forget which one. But now, back in 2022, if you guys may or may not know, Tillian Pearson stole Danny Warsnop's wife. Totally kidding, but I'm not. But Tillian Pearson had come under fire from alleged sexual abuse allegations against him, which caused him to leave Dance Gavin Dance. So Tillian Pearson's the clean singer. He's the one that always looks super pretty in the videos. And they are moving on without him and having their unclean vocalist fill in the spot for, I believe, both vocals. I can't remember. They've put out a couple songs since then, but I've never been a huge Dance Gavin Dance fan. But fast forward to now, where Dance Gavin Dance was supposed to be on a tour with Seeyouspacecowboy and the home team, I believe, were the only bands on this tour, but I could be wrong. Probably wrong. Seeyouspacecowboy not only is pulling off of that tour, but they are now more than likely going to lose their singer. Because she has announced that she's basically going to leave Seeyouspacecowboy due to a lack of urgency on issues that I've been bringing up for a while. It was fun while it lasted.
Sounds to me like this is so she's pulling off a tour with Dance Gavin Dance, not because Tillian Peterson's still in the band, but because she, quote unquote, knows for a fact that the rest of the band knew that he was a terrible person, even though he's still being accused. He hasn't ever been charged or anything. He went to rehab to stop his drinking. And the rest of the band is still together without him, and she is protesting the band as it is, even though they got rid of him.
Yes.
That is the definition of virtue signaling and cancel culture at its finest. It's not good enough to be like, hey, we fired our singer who may or may not be a POS, but we're not sure. He hasn't actually been charged yet or been brought into anything of the court of law. And it's been 2 years. He would have been charged by now. But now you have to go after the rest of the band and protest the rest of the band because it's obvious that they're just as bad as he is.
Well, apparently what happened too is because
it was ass logic ever created. I hate
apparently
these people.
I
hate this person.
Apparently Dance Gavin Dance has also let Tillian Pearson come back, do some stuff, and leave again. So they're still, to a degree, working with him from what I can see.
But again, the whole point is that he was accused of something that he hasn't been proven to do yet, hasn't been charged yet, no evidence has come forward. All we have is somebody yelling fire, and this person's going to just lose their mind. I hate people like this. I despise people like this.
Hey, I'm just glad that Tillian Pearson stole Danny Warsop's wife so Danny Warsop could make heavier music again.
Okay. I just don't get this mentality of where there's smoke, there's fire. Okay, but we're going to start burning down a lot of houses at that rate. Oh, and I'm assuming that she's not leaving the band. I'm assuming what actually happened is the band asked her to leave because she's cost them like 2 major tours now.
Well, the other half of this going on is also like with Oceano. This is another one of the latest bands that's coming under fire because the fans are taking a problem with this tour with Dance Gavin Dance being on the tour. Dance Gavin Dance is the headliner for Return of the Robot Tour. That's supposed to start in May. But apparently also a lot of fans are also, again, voicing their displeasure because they're on the same bill with a band that has somebody that was accused of this, and in the process they left the band, which of course obviously means that they are guilty.
I hate people. What was even worse was Spirit Box. Do you think Spirit Box jumped on a tour with Ronnie Radke not knowing Ronnie Radke's reputation? No, they jumped on a tour to go make money.
Yeah.
Guess what? You're not going to stop Falling in Reverse. It's one of the biggest bands on the planet right now, whether you like it or not. Spirit Box didn't sign up for that tour because they didn't know who Ronnie Radke was. They decided to jump on that tour because they could go make money, and that's all they cared about. They're not supporting Ronnie Radke. They're going out to make money and make fans themselves. Oh my word, you keyboard warriors need to come off it.
Yeah, it's becoming
so
such
done.
a big problem in the music industry. It's like we finally come back from COVID. We finally are starting to have big shows again, and this is the culture that these bands have now come back into.
Oh my word. I hate all of it. I hate all of it so much. And I'm not saying people should get away with murder, right? I'm saying, look, there's never been charges filed against anybody. This is an accusation. There's no charges. There's no nothing. How about we wait and see when the facts come out? Somebody could be lying. That's never happened before, right? In the history of humanity, no one's ever
people
lied.
online and people are always truthful. Come on.
Right. No one's ever lied about a domestic violence case. No woman has ever lied about being pregnant to get somebody to stay with them. No woman has ever lied about rape charges in order to make someone look bad. That's never happened. Why don't we see what the legal system has to do about it?
Right. Well, and plus, Dance Gavin Dance also really didn't do a very good job of kind of quelling this, because once Pearson left, or in 2023, it's not 2024 anymore. I can't say last year. Fuck.
Yeah.
But all they had said about the situation was, as people grow and change, creative differences can arise, and life paths and goals may no longer align.
Yeah, and the fact that they immediately sent him to rehab, or he sent himself to rehab to get himself fixed off alcohol, that doesn't help either.
No. So, like, straight up, like, I'm even reading some of these comments is just fucking ridiculous. Like, the double whammy of Seeyouspacecowboy and the home team letting me down. You're kidding me. Like, come on. Seeyouspacecowboy is smart enough to drop Roman Candle from the tour, but then do this.
Yeah, I think here's what's happened. Here's what I bet you has happened. Seeyouspacecowboy has created this culture of, we don't tour with, which is their right. Don't get me wrong. They have every right to do this. They've created a culture around their band of, or at least the lead singer has, of, we don't tour with anybody that may or may not be problematic, regardless of what that is. So they have also garnered a fan base that has that same mentality. And what you get now is a feeding frenzy of whenever Seeyouspacecowboy gets on tour with anybody, and that person may or may not be problematic, or even a group of people might have a problem with them, their fans are going to react and find a reason to hate the headliner or whoever it is. It's just a negativity feedback loop. That's all it is.
Well, it's like, you know, a singer comes out and says, I don't want to do, like with Adam, especially. You start getting these bands pop in there. It's like, you know, you and I are in bands. We don't know every single band. We don't know every single member of every band.
Right.
That's just the way the music business is, because there's so much going on at any given time. So we, you know, get booked for a tour. We get booked for a show. I'm not going to know nine out of 10 members that are going to be also on this tour or on this bill whatsoever. Can I tell you the names of the bands that I just played with? Yes. Can I tell you all their members? No, I can't.
No.
Can I tell you their personal backstories? No, and quite frankly, I don't give a shit.
Right.
But when people bring it to my attention and say, hey, did you know that this person has this? And they present all the information, then it's like, I don't really want to be around that person on like a show or a tour, because then, you know, God forbid I go get a drink with one of these guys and hang out with them, and then, you know, we get buddy. Then 2 months later, hey, by the way, did you know they have a bunch of sexual assault allegations against them? And then all of a sudden people start looking at you saying, hey, by the way, you're also hanging out with this person. What does that make it look like for you? It's like, I can understand that to a degree, but the fact that Connie's saying that she's going to leave the band and then pretty much put the whole band's future on hold, I think sucks in a lot of ways, but at the same time, we don't know the full story of it. The second part of this story that I find hilarious and frustrating at the same time is that, you know, we address the elephant in the room that Connie is a transgender woman.
So biological, just for sake of my sanity, she's a transgender woman, which means she is a biological male, correct?
Yes.
I am so bad at this. I do not know all the terminology, and it's not because I'm an intolerant jerk. I just want to make sure that I'm clear on everything.
Yes. They changed their gender to woman, and that is where Connie Scarbosa comes from.
Okay, cool. All right. So I'm with you. I'm following.
So which famous metal musician is also very, very much against transgenderism and doesn't like anything politically correct.
Ted Nugent.
Well, yes, him too. But
Aaron Lewis.
Can you imagine if Ted Nugent fronted "See You, Space Cowboy"?
Different fan base. Kid Rock.
Oh my!
I'm still gonna name out all the people that fit into the category you just.
I'm gonna
gave
give
me.
you like two. I'm gonna give you like two more.
I know who it is. It's Ronnie.
That's why I'm giving you two more. I want to see who else you come up with.
See, I said Aaron Lewis, Ted Nugent. I know it's Ronnie Radke, of course. Who else has been very much like? Oh, I don't know. Okay, give me a minute. Continue with your story. I'll think of somebody to yell out in the middle of interrupting you.
So, massive internet troll by career, Ronnie Radke has come out as soon as this all started coming out and has put out, well, if she's going to leave the band, I can front for your band and play with you. Also because he does not agree with the fact that, she's a transgender woman. So now He's got a double whammy of, I'll front your band for you because I love being in the limelight, especially when it comes to something, as notorious as this. But also, I just don't agree with their life choice and what they've done. So I'm going to go out there and, God, can you imagine just the fucking slander he'd be putting out there every single show?
Oh, it'd be funny.
It'd be funny, but I can't imagine those other band members from this band saying like, "No, let's go ahead and do that and just get fucking reamed every single night."
It's the most money they would ever make in their lives, though.
Well, yeah, true.
If they had Ronnie Radke fronting the band, they would sell out every show, and they'd probably have to upgrade a few venues.
I just can't imagine Ronnie Radke trying to do that vocal style because that's the 2000 shrieky high pitched screaming.
I'm just in the hypothetical mode because I love chaos and anarchy of if this actually happened and just the hilarity that would ensue. If somehow, some way, the band accepted Ronnie's offer, Ronnie actually went and did it, just the nightmare that would happen would be hilarious.
I mean, we also got to remember that Ronnie Radke is still mad about the fact that he couldn't go to the UK because of his felony charges. And said that basically it's gonna ruin the UK economy that Falling in Reverse can't play there.
Again, to be fair, he has a right to be cranky because they set this up. They had the tour ready to go. They booked the venues. They've already talked with everybody. And somebody somewhere, and this is what I said in the podcast earlier.
They dropped the ball on this little bit of information that says, "Hey, by the way, do you have a felony?"
Maybe not even dropped the ball, but went looking for the ball to drop. Does that make sense? I'm not saying that somebody missed it, but I'm also saying that somebody somewhere may have been like, "Oh, we don't want Ronnie here. Look at this law we found."
I mean, I don't really see it being as
look at the lead
malicious
singer of look at the lead singer of Seeyouspacecowboy and tell me that there aren't people out there like that would do that. It's a possibility. The chance is less than 0%.
Chances are low, but they're never zero.
Yes, the chance is high.
The same statistic as me being killed by a goose is this happening.
Right. But it is possible. I think you're right, though. I think never attribute what's Hanlon's razor. Never attribute to malice, which that can be attributed to stupidity or negligence. And there's a very, very high chance, or better chance, that someone just missed it entirely. I don't think it'll destroy the UK's economy, but again, it'd be funny if it did.
You imagine if the UK economy just fucking trashed because the money that did not come in from Falling in Reverse playing there?
Because Falling in Reverse didn't play 3 or 4 shows in the UK.
I mean, they could just book Metallica for a night, and I think they'd make their money up.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, what else did we have?
On.
Yes. Was that it for newses? Other than
No, it's not. You forgot that Orange Goblin's quitting after 30 years.
Oh no, not Orange Goblin. Oh wait,
Orange
who's Orange
Goblin is officially calling it quits on the eve of their 30th anniversary. Shut up, Frazier.
I'm going to be
eve
the
of their
average
30th
Facebook
anniversary.
No, I'm not letting you talk about this. This is
Their
ridiculous.
storied career. The storied. Look at me. I'm being Frazier. I have a big hood on my head like a big baby because you don't want to hear about Orange Goblin. No, UK metal band Orange Goblin has announced that on the eve of their 30th anniversary this year that they're going to be calling it quits. Who Orange Goblin is, I don't know. That's actually my homework for next week.
Even Josh doesn't know who they are.
Hey, I don't know a lot of stuff. This mind is a steel trap of useless information. So the fact that I don't know Orange Goblin's more surprising.
I'm going to be the average Facebook person when they say, like, Machine Gun Kelly. Who? Your relevancy is 0. No one cares that you're quitting. Just go away.
Hey, guys, I just found out about this new artist. His name is Eminem. He's actually really good.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. I'm sorry. Welcome to the ADHD break.
So what else we got? Orange Goblin's calling it quits. I'm sure somebody will know who this is.
There's one person in the UK crying in the corner right now.
There's one old OG metalhead that still goes to his same local bar after 50 years to see the new bands play and just harass them on stage how much they suck. Mm-hmm. That has an Orange Goblin patch on one vest from 40 years ago.
Yep.
No, 30. No, so they formed in 1995 as Our Haunted Kingdom. Orange Goblin has 10 studio albums under their belts, 2 live albums, and multiple EPs and singles.
All that music and still no one cares.
Hey, they just came out with a new album that apparently is supposed to be really good that I haven't listened to. Nor will I probably will because I'll forget. So, goodbye, Orange Goblin. I did not know you. Let's talk about Killswitch Engage.
Okay.
You know that band that did that one song for that one bad Resident Evil movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, that band. Also, rest in peace, David Lynch. So, after 6 long, cruel, Killswitch Engage-less years, do we have a new Killswitch Engage album on the horizon? Frasier will sit here and talk naughty nonsense to you about the fact that I'm such a Jesse Leach fanboy, and I think he's a superior singer.
Okay, really quick, before we get started, I have a question.
Here we go. He's already mad.
Killswitch Engage?
Let's see. I think that they did a song on Resident Evil 1. Was it 2? Might have been 2004. 2004, I think, was the first Resident Evil movie.
No, yeah. I think you and I have got to be the only people on the planet that actually think that I almost said it the wrong way, that Jesse Leach was better than Howard Jones was.
I do really, really like the Howard Jones albums.
Do not get us wrong. We love As Daylight Dies.
I love As Daylight Dies. I love End of Heartache. That was the first Killswitch Engage album I ever actually listened to. My wife got both End of Heartache and As Daylight Dies back to back. And then I was like, I'm going to go get one too. And I found their first self-titled album, and I was very confused and very irritated. That also happened with Avenged Sevenfold. City of Evil came out. I'm like, oh, look at this other album. Then I got Waking the Fallen. I was like, what the fuck is this? Mm-hmm. It was a better album, though. But Killswitch Engage has finally announced this Consequence coming out next month. And the big kicker about this album is the fact that their last album, I believe it was called Incarnate, came out on the crux of the COVID shutdowns. They went on a headlining tour to promote their new album, and they were only out on tour for, I believe, about a month or two before everything shut down. So that whole entire album touring cycle got completely washed away. So there was almost no promotion for Incarnate. There was no promotion in terms of people getting to listen to new music on these tours and shows because everything shut down. And we, desperately clawed our way back into having shows again. And by this time, nobody was really going there to hear these tracks that have now already been out for, at that point, about a year or two. None of these songs were new. None of them were being showcased as a new track. Obviously, it's frustrating for not only the fans, but for the band itself. So now, fast forward to last year, Jesse Leach was doing interviews talking about what this new Killswitch album is going to sound like, and saying that basically he was kind of in a rock and a hard place. He was trying to write the best music that he could and was trying not to settle for anything that he did not personally find extremely well in his eyes to be on this new Killswitch album. So he was being very picky. He was understandably trying to take his time with what's going to be now essentially a comeback for Killswitch Engage.
Right.
And now they're going to be finally able to say, okay, after 6 years, we can finally go on tour, headline a tour with promoting a new album and new material, and actually be able to bring it out to the fans as it's released. So they've put out 2 new tracks. There's I Believe and oh man, what's that first song they put out? You got this, Frasier.
I Believe.
There's 2 tracks.
Oh.
You got this, buddy. I saw you looking on your phone. You're obviously looking at that, not at feet pics.
No, I'm currently looking at what the thing is.
Feet pictures.
Forever Aligned?
Yes. So we're finally coming out with new music, and what's really driving this album is not even negative feelings. It's like the first track that came out was very heavy. It had in my opinion, one of the best choruses they put out in probably 3 or 4 albums. But these guys are working hard to make this album the best it can be. But he's also talking about what makes this album different in a lot of ways. Is saying that everything from wars to hatred to division and all the things that we see on a regular basis makes my heart feel heavy, but at least I feel I've contributed in some way, shape, or form with the lyrics on this album. And talking from, it's not a place of ego per se, it's from a place of being aware of the platform that I'm on, and that there are people who are listening, and there are people who react to what I have to say, and I have seen that has impacted people in positive ways, so I've taken that very seriously.
So he's kind of, with all the darkness going on, it sounds like he's been singing about more positive things this time around?
Yes. So this album is basically stated as it's about being angry, but not just an aimless, chaotic anger. It's pointed at something. I'm tired of the way we've been treated in society. I'm tired of the frustration and the anger. It's for a greater good. There's a righteousness to it. Wake up. We've got to do something about this. And the really cool thing about it, especially the next single that had came out, I Believe, has more of a showcase on Adam singing, their guitar player.
Yeah.
Which he has a very good blend with Jesse Leach's vocals, because Adam also does the background screaming. He does a lot of lows for Killswitch. Incarnate, I believe, not the standard album, but I believe the deluxe edition had 1 or 2 tracks where they actually alternated with Adam doing some deep gutturals with Jesse's highs, which was a new kind of sound for Killswitch. And not to mention the fact that Adam, how do you pronounce his last name? Duktowitz?
Don't ask me. Not even going to try.
Donut Wizdicks.
Close enough.
Also works with, like, you know, he's has Path of Possession with Corpse Grinder from Killswitch Engage. Him and Jesse also have another band that they've done together called Times of Grace, and he's also working on an album with Howard Jones from Killswitch Engage. Like, Adam is all over the place in terms of style and musical influences, so they're definitely, I think, trying to showcase it more on this album too, trying to show they're not just a one-trick pony, it's not just a metalcore act, but trying to actually expand it a little bit without alienating all their fans in the process.
Right.
That being said, I hope that they put a rap section on here, because that would be fucking terrific.
Mm-hmm.
Frasier's looking at me like he doesn't like that idea.
Nope, not at all. Okay, moving on.
He loves it. So hey, talk about When the Sky Falls, Frasier. How do you feel about the sky falling down?
What?
You don't even get my dad jokes. This is our relationship's coming to an end.
Okay.
The ceiling tiles are falling from the sky.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't be. That's not like the sky falling down, because there was a cannon that made the sky fall down. To be fair,
yeah, and in Chicken Little, the sky panels fell down too with a baseball.
So, a few nights ago, Bad Omens. For those of you who don't know, the ever touring Bad Omens. Geez, Louise, guys, take a break.
They did take a break, and they got a lot of backlash for it.
Oh, dude. shut up. Again, people that need to shut up and just mind their own business.
I don't care about your mental health. I want to pay $300 to go see you.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, I'm sorry.
Anyway, I hate music fans so much. Anyway, so during the show, they were playing their last song, as most of you know, their biggest song called "Just Pretend."
It's a good closing track.
Yes, and the very last chorus, there's a big kind of moment, and when they hit the moment, these confetti cannons go off. So I watched the video multiple times in slow motion, and what you see is in the cell phone video is the confetti the confetti cannons go off.
Got this. I believe in you.
And about half a second later, 2.5 or 3 ceiling tiles, and I don't know if they're like. The only problem I have with this ceiling tile story is I'm not sure if they're like hard, heavy ceiling tiles or if they're like the drop ceiling, like in schools. You know, I'm talking about the crappy foam board kind of stuff that's up there.
So one of my job sites is working on a warehouse expansion, and those ceiling tiles. They're definitely not the ones that you have in like in schools. Those little push ones you can go to that can access into an upper area.
Yeah,
like that. You are dealing with something that is going to be thick
with 3 C's.
Thick. You gotta make the stank face with you. Thick. You're going to be doing something that's going to be holding a lot of heat, and it's going to be trying to dampen sound. So these things are big, and in my unprofessional opinion, from being in construction for as long as I have, you're looking at like at least maybe an inch thick, maybe 2 inches thick, just to at least just dampen sound and not do climate control.
They didn't look like they were 2 inches thick because, again, I watched the video. They're
you don't know thickness.
They're normal sized. They're not like insanely thick. They're probably half-inch thick. Nothing crazy. But either way, they come down.
But think about a half-inch thick panel falling down from 40 or 50 feet in the air.
Right. Caused by, and here's the only thing I'm not sure. Was it shaken loose by the initial blast of the confetti cannons? Or was it the confetti coming out and hitting something that knocked it loose? And I know that sounds really dumb, but again, if you go watch the video out of the
Conspiracy
cannon,
corner.
You actually see a wad, like the initial wad of confetti coming out, and it comes out in a kind of looks like a small pillow almost. So either way, the venue wasn't prepared for this, and these tiles did fall. There are reports of a couple people getting drug out. Couple people had bleeding or whatever. Got, hit in the head and had a few cuts. The next night, Bad Omens played at the exact same venue, and Noah Sebastian addressed the crowd and said that they wanted to make sure everybody was cool from the night before. Apparently, they had a few people in there. It was kind of chaotic because he was doing it in real time from the stage, but he was asking the crowd if anybody was there from the night before, and that one person wasn't there and that they had been knocked unconscious apparently. But unfortunate situation, but probably something the venue should have been prepared for, because for those of you who don't know, when you're on tour, before you even get to the venue, at least a month in advance, you send the venue your video carts you're bringing, how big your rigs are, how much of everything you need, and how much power you need. And so on the list of things that that Bad Omens would have sent, it's called there's another name for it, but they send it and they call it an advance. And it would have said, we have confetti cannons that will be shooting over the crowd. And the fact that the venue wasn't like, hey, this might be a big deal, so.
And also a big thing too is that we don't know if there's like an annual safety check on the structures that are already erected or anything like that. It could also just been that this was an old panel that had been knocked, had been shaken loose after, years of being in a music hall at the festival hall in Melbourne.
Right.
We don't know. I mean, coming from Seattle, half those venues look like they're still held together with fucking duct tape and spit. I mean, I'm surprised Showbox Soto hasn't vibrated itself into the fucking ocean by now.
Right.
But there's also there's a million fucking factors with it. You know, the confetti got packed in too hard and didn't expand out and explode like it was supposed to, making it essentially become a projectile and knocking this thing down. Or was it just enough to rattle one that was already loose and fell down? I mean, it's a freak accident is the big thing about it, is that it is literally a freak accident. Obviously, there was nothing that could have been done to stop this in this situation except a safety check on the building itself. But if you're having a festival or a festival hall that plays shows every single night, you know, you should be definitely taking that into consideration.
Right.
But a lot of people on here are also talking about the fact that it seems like that the venue did try to kind of sweep it under the rug really quickly.
Oh, I didn't read anything about that. Do tell.
So we're talking about like people that had been hurt, people that had gone to the hospital, and security checked if people were okay. Another young girl with blood on her chin was taken out of the pit. Show resumed a few minutes later, so I'm not sure if the band knew what was happening. Like you had said.
No, if you look in the video, it happens like 6 or 7 or 8 rows back, standing room only. For those of you that have never been on stage, you literally can only see like the first 2 or 3 rows of people. And Noah did address that he said he couldn't see anything. Fully believe him. Like, you cannot see anything in a concert venue unless you turn on all the house lights. You see the first 3 or 4 rows, and that's it.
Yeah, even the show that I played at in the beginning of January, like, I could barely see the front row of people, and the rest was just, it's dark. But here's the thing. There's proof that people were taken to the hospital. People had posted their doctor's notes for missing work, things like that. But in an additional statement, a spokesperson for the venue confirmed to the music venues, that no hospitalizations were required from the incident. And that's the big thing. They're saying that.
This is a he said, she said thing.
Yeah. Well, the spokesperson for the venue itself was saying, hey, by the way, there was no hospitalizations for, you know, these injuries that happened. But there are people that are confirming that they had to go to the hospital and had to miss work. Yeah, large pieces of the roof were left on the floor just behind, and there was a clear void where it had fallen. So the only thing that you could possibly see from stage was that, you know, there's a void in the group of people. God damn it.
The crowd?
Yeah, it says right here, hospital gave me a medical certificate to cover a few days off and see how it heals up. Venue people seem to care very little about the paramedics on scene, but the paramedics on scene were amazing. The venue staff were very quick to get rid of the evidence. So they pulled off. Obviously, you'd have to pull out these ceiling tiles to do that. Like, that's not.
But also to say, you know, even that statement in itself is skewed. To say that the venue very quickly got rid of the evidence, the venue also has a show that has to continue. They have to get the ceiling tiles off the floor so somebody doesn't trip on them or kick them.
That's what I'm saying, is that like somebody's interpretation of they're cleaning it up and getting rid of it as fast as possible is more like, we need to move this because it can still pose a threat to people that can trip over and get hurt.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, this is where Hanlon's razor comes into effect. You can't see a staff member removing the ceiling tiles and immediately assume that they're doing it to be malicious and hide evidence. No, they're probably doing it to make sure that other people don't trip on them, kick them, or fall on them, or whatever.
Yeah, have you ever been knocked down on the floor in a metal show?
Yeah, I have.
You know how fucking terrifying that is?
Yep. Yeah, you can't just jump to, well, they're doing it to, you know, they are going to try to cover their asses. Don't get me wrong. The venue's probably going to get sued because this is all on the venue and not on the band. But
right. But it's not the venue's trying to hide it. Like, obviously we live in a day and age where everything is on camera. Everything is being recorded. It's a miracle people still can even kind of get away with stuff. Right. But I don't think this is the venue being malicious. I don't think it's anything like that. I do find it interesting that they said that there was no hospitalizations that came out of it, but also this person could have just said, I fucking hurt and I'm going to go get myself checked out, thus getting a doctor's note.
The venue could also be pulling this from the paramedics on scene. Hey, the paramedics, the venue owner goes up to the paramedics that were on scene, right? And goes, hey, did you have to take anybody to the hospital? Nope, we didn't. We just bandaged a few people up.
Exactly.
And maybe people chose on their own accord to go to the hospital. That is a completely possible scenario. That, the venue was like, we didn't hear about anybody having to go to the hospital. We asked the paramedics. Well, people chose to go to the hospital, as they should, on their own.
Yeah.
And so
if
people
you feel
were
like you need to, you go.
Right, but people were hospitalized. And as that one person said, the paramedics on scene, not the paramedics in the ambulance that I had to ride to get to the hospital.
Right, exactly.
So people could have taken it up on their own accord, again, as they should have, to go to the hospital. But that doesn't mean the venue is trying to bury the fact that people didn't go to the hospital. It just means that the venue didn't get all the information, or people chose to go on their own volition.
Right, exactly. Which I feel like, especially some of these big venues that do these big shows almost every single night, year after year after year, I think especially going into 2025, I really think that there should be more security checks in terms of the actual structures that you're going to be playing in. I know that not a lot of venues are going to want to do that kind of stuff just because it is expensive. It could bring out problems that have to shut down for any amount of time until they can get them fixed. I'm looking at you, every single venue in Seattle.
Yep. Well, to be fair, Corazon did, before it got shut down, I guess, kind of. Corazon did an update, repainted the inside, redid some construction. The biggest problem with El Corazon is that they're going to have people faint of heat stroke before anything.
Do they still have the big-ass hole in the wall with the fan that doesn't work?
Yeah. Showbox Soto is pretty darn modern. You can't get mad at them. Showbox at the Market's pretty well upkept. Like, I've been in there once 5 years ago, and it was with you, and it was pretty well put together. Mm-hmm. I haven't been there since.
That's probably one of my favorite venues out there besides the Neptune.
The only one that I would really honestly worry about, which I haven't seen it in 10 years, is what is now called Club Sur Rocks. It used to be called Studio 7.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about Studio 7. I've never been there, though.
I love Studio 7. I thought it was the perfect rock venue. Literally, the speakers were hung off chains from the ceiling. It was awesome.
Which one was Studio 7? That wasn't the one that was right off the freeway, was it?
No, it was.
That was El Corazon, right?
Yeah, that's El Corazon. Studio 7 was down in the industrial park. Like, it's just warehouses everywhere and train tracks. That's all.
I remember I had a couple friends that played there, but I've never actually been there.
I loved Studio 7. I thought it was the perfect dingy, crappy rock venue. Concrete floor.
Man, if you want that, come to Memphis. I mean, Minglewood Hall is just a name that I'm concerned about going to see.
Like, literally, it was a concrete floor with speakers hung over the crowd by giant chains. Like, chains that are very more than enough chain to hold these speakers up. But it was a perfect little dingy rock venue. It was great.
So anyway. You think if a venue like Studio 7 has to do some sort of integrity check on their entire venue just to make sure everything is up to date. I mean, that's a small venue.
Right.
They're not going to be bringing in, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So going over like an integrity check on everything could essentially shut them down and not make them any money for a long time.
Like, you just go get a basic inspection for $1,000 or whatever it is to inspect your venue. And
here's remember, anytime you hire an inspector, what you do is you hire one inspector and then you immediately hire a second inspector.
And but the other thing is, like, for this venue in Australia, right? Again, you have an extenuating circumstance that you have cannons on stage that have gone off. Right. That's a little bit different than normal. On top of that, here's the big thing, and this is the only slightly accusatory thing I'll say. Typically, when you have ceiling tiles that are falling loose, it's either A, happened before, or B, it's about to happen. Like, you don't just walk through the venue every day and don't happen to see the ceiling tiles and go, hey, that thing looks loose, or whatever. But again, you also have cannons involved in this situation, so God only knows.
Right. I mean, it's either that or it's a matter of time if those ceiling tiles are all the ones that are installed at the same time. then that becomes a call for concern of saying, well, if this was enough to knock down 2 or 3, then maybe we should start making sure that they're all still fastened down, haven't shook loose.
This might be right. This might be the first instance of, oh crap, we have to bolster the ceiling now.
Well, to be fair, I mean, you're Australia. You're fucking lucky that there wasn't some like 10-foot spider that fell out of the ceiling too.
Right.
I don't like Australia. Australia scares me.
So
I don't even like watching Bluey.
So I have a proposal. Due to the
proposal?
fact that especially on my end, we only had one single, I think we should just delve into your album for the review and just call it until these other albums start dropping, because next week we'll have an album to talk about, at least. All that remains is new album. But I had
when
a single.
Whitechapel's album come out, we're only going to be talking about Whitechapel all the entire episode.
Right. So I had a single that I was going to put forth, but honestly, it's not really worth reviewing to begin with, and I'd like to see how the rest of the album does, so we should just talk about Josh's album. Again, it's the dry season, so it's what's going to happen.
I mean, Papa Roach's new single is the pure epitome of this is the dry season, just because it was a very middle of the road, like, it's a song. Is it good? It's a song.
Right.
All right, so we're going to talk about a new album by the band Harakiri From The Sky. And I had to have Frasier confirming how to spell that for me because I get my A's and my eyes mixed up. So, let's go into it. Harakiri From The Sky is an Austrian post-black metal band formed in Vienna in 2011 by vocalist JJ and multi-instrumentalist Matthias Solak, formerly a black metal band Bifrost. Frasier, what do you think about the album?
I don't think you're going to like my opinion.
I don't care about your opinion.
So this album in general is the definition of why I believe I don't like blast beats. I will elaborate further and it will make more sense. When I first heard the first song of this album, which is Can't Heal, was that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Or Won't Heal? Heal Me. I'm sorry. Heal Me. I knew the word heal.
This is the 2025 album, Scorched Earth, that just came out last Friday.
Yes. So it's called Heal Me. I thought the track was actually very impressive. Don't get me wrong. My biggest hang up with this album that I am finding is twofold, which Josh is going to roll his eyes at both of these, but this is me coming from the more melodic side. I love the guitar work. I love the melodic guitar work. I love the way it's put together. I think the songs are great. But every fucking second of this album is covered up by blast beats, except for there's little reprieves here and there. And and I think the drums are so loud, it drowns out all the awesome guitar work being done on the album and all the melodic parts. And it's being covered up with attempting to be as heavy and as quick as possible and just blast beating the crap out of the album. With that also being said, my other big hang-up is the fact that there are some parts in here where, well, actually, I'll say this. There's 3 small hang-ups. The third small hang-up is I feel like
you only get 2 by law.
I feel like, again, because of the blast beats and the drums, but also a mixing issue, the vocals are like buried in the mix really bad. And I don't mean that as in like you can't hear them, but they are like down there a ways. They're lower than they should be, and they're kind of like distant, which drives me nuts. And then thirdly, there are some spots in this album where singing should be required, and there is none, and that drives me mad. Like very melodic, like pretty parts, and he's doing his pseudo screaming, false chord screaming, and it again it drives me insane. I'm like, this is a great spot for a chorus and for you to stop the blast beats and actually put a little bit of groove into the song, and it's just and it drives me nuts. This is one of the reasons I hate black metal, like I always will, because it is meant to just be blast beaty the whole way through, and it drives me insane. You have to give the listener some reprieve and some form of melody, and they tried to with the guitar work, and then they covered that up with blast beats and screaming. But beyond that, like if this is like if I could somehow mute the drums and then mute the drums periodically and mute the vocals periodically, I would think this was an amazing album.
So everything about the album is good.
Except for the except for I don't mind blast beats either. I love Whitechapel, but there's a point where you need to stop blast beating and just let the song groove and breathe. They don't give any of that.
Well, to be fair, Harakiri From The Sky is definitely not a groove band.
No, and but that's what I'm saying is it's not that the album is bad. Like I said, the guitar work is fun. Like the guitar work's actually melodic and has this awesome. The guitar work has the groove and has these melodic parts and has these awesome chords, but it's so aggravating when it is covered up at all the wrong parts with just blast beats.
I can agree to an extent on that one. Like my favorite song on this album is With Autumn I'll Surrender, just because it does have that kind of pretty clean opening.
Right.
And you're not doing blast beats, you're doing a groove beat with like a really clean sounding channeled guitar. But I've been listening to Harakiri From The Sky for, probably close to 6-7 years now. And while they are like one of my go-to bands, and I say go-to as in, if I go through my stuff and I can't find what to listen to, I scroll through their albums. It's like, okay, yeah, no, I'm going to listen to this one. They're a band that to a degree, they're kind of difficult to listen to. And you got to kind of be in the mood for it. You have to be in the mindset, basically, to accept what Harakiri From The Sky is trying to do. Like this album, for instance, I think is probably one of their better ones. I don't think it's their best one.
Okay.
I do think that, which one is it? Their album that was a couple albums before this. It might be Arson I might be thinking of. Arson's the one I'm thinking of because it has Fire Walk With Me on there. I think that's probably their best album. I don't remember it really having blast beats. I remember it having more steady double bass in terms of a rhythm versus blast beats. But the biggest thing about this band is it's a two-man band. It's a vocalist and a multi-instrumentalist.
Right.
And we bring people on tour with us to be able to play the music in the background.
Right.
But I feel like this band, not in a negative way, like never in a negative way, I feel like they could do better to move away from trying to be a quote-unquote post-black metal band, which is basically a black metal band that doesn't want to be a black metal band.
Right. I agree with that.
A more progressive black metal band than trying to sound like you recorded it in a tin can at the bottom of a well. What did you think about the cover song on it?
Hang on. I didn't.
You got
honestly,
this.
I didn't know there was one. I didn't pay attention that close.
The final song on the album is Street Spirit, and that is a Radiohead cover.
I don't listen to Radiohead. I don't like Radiohead.
I don't think anybody likes Radiohead.
I don't like Radiohead.
We just lost one person from the podcast because they're a Radiohead fan, and I'm not sorry.
Don't care.
I'm
Be
not
gone
sorry.
with ye.
So, Harakiri From The Sky, definitely, like Scorched Earth is definitely, in my opinion, it's a step up in some ways and it's a step back in some ways. It's by no means a bad album. The guitar sounds phenomenal on it. I personally think his vocals sound good, especially with Autumn I'll Surrender being like the main first single that came out for this album. You want something heavy and fast that kind of sounds like some depth to it. It's a good album to get into. Like this album, in my opinion, is a semi-black metal version of The Fragile from Nine Inch Nails. Like this album feels like it's supposed to hurt.
Right.
Like I'm getting triggered for a negative feeling, but I don't know what that negative feeling is. But with songs like Without You, I'm Just a Sad Song, with Just Another Promise You Couldn't Keep, Too Late for Goodbyes, like I definitely get the feeling that it's one of those albums that I'm not going to listen to as a whole, unless like I'm in a real bad fucking mood and I want to make it worse and I want to make it hurt.
Right.
But that being said, these guys, I mean, they're doing their thing. They're putting out music that they want to put out. And while I don't agree with a genre called post-black metal,
Right.
because as a metal fan, as blasphemous as it is, I don't really like black metal. I like the classics, which is a weird thing to have to say for black metal, but I like the classics. I do like Mayhem. I do like Emperor. But like post-rock and post-black metal, like it's such a weird genre to traverse. Because you're essentially trying to say, well, we're a black metal band, but we're not 100% a black metal band.
And like I said, I like the guitar work that's not the stereotypical black metal style. It was just the blast beats that was... I mean, the only thing about this that says black metal was the constant blast beats. The vocal style isn't even black metal.
I mean, to a degree, you could say it is, just because it is a more toneless shriek or aggravated shout. He definitely kind of has more of like I'd say almost more like a hardcore style to his vocals this time around.
Right.
But honestly, if you want a better version of this album, I would go back and listen to Arson. Arson, in my opinion, is like the Harakiri From The Sky album. In my opinion. My opinion doesn't matter worth shit, but I also really like the song Firewalk With Me, but that was the first song I heard by them.
Yep.
So, I mean, I give it a solid like 7 out of 10. You know, I do like the band. I do like, you know, the fact that it's two guys doing what they want to do and they've been doing it for this long. You know, why stop them now? Could it be better? I think it could be better, but it's by no means a bad album in my opinion.
Right. All right.
What numerical value do you give it?
6. Maybe a 5.
Now I'm mad at you.
All right. That's okay. And with
okay.
that is the Dissonant Harmonics podcast.
That's it. That's all of us for today.
For $5, he will be Josh.
I apologize for not getting an episode out last week. We've been having some issues on my end that we've been trying to navigate and figure out. That kind of made it so we weren't able to get together in time to do another episode, but I think we might be back on a more regular schedule until well, let's do some shameless plugging. Frasier's recording new music.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm working with a new band. So that's our shameless plug for the end of the day.
Woohoo!
And we may or may not be doing something together.
Maybe.
Maybe not.
Maybe.
Alrighty.
We will catch you all later.
Have a wonderful day and wonderful week. And if you don't, I don't care. It doesn't hurt my feelings. Be good, people.
Bye-bye.